Hey, I'm Stephanie, and it's time to declutter some single eyeshadows. I have a lot of them, way too many for any person with just one face to own. So I'm fully aware of that. That is also why I stopped purchasing them a couple of years ago and why I am doing this declutter today, which, by the way, is the very first declutter I have ever done of my single eyeshadows in my whole life. And I've been playing with makeup for, I don't know, 15 years now? So today is going to be quite a doozy, and I think it's important for me to keep in mind as I go through this declutter that my goal is to create more time and space for me to enjoy the eyeshadows that I ultimately keep. Because I'm telling you right now, I think it's going to be really hard for me to let go of these things. Not because of any emotional attachment, but because they're just so much fun. My Swatch Goblin gets in there and is like, ooh, look, color, and it just won't stop. So I have to tell you now, I have no idea how this is going to go. Because looking at all of these shadows piled up in one place, the sheer number is really overwhelming me. I don't even know where to start. So I guess we'll just switch to the overhead camera and see how it goes. Welcome to my single eyeshadow palette declutter. I'm starting it off a little bit differently today because I'm going to begin with the things that I know I'm keeping, and it's a whole lot. But I thought it would be a smart place to start because when I looked at all of these single shadows that I had, I got very overwhelmed very quickly and thought, I don't even know where to start. And so I just figured, you know what, I'll make it easier for myself. And I know that I am constantly interacting with these palettes here and the shadows inside. So I thought what we could do is take a look at what's in here because I want to keep the contents of these palettes in mind when I'm going through the rest of my single shadows because I know that these work really well. So basically, if I have something in here, I don't need to dupe my own collection by taking another shadow from another palette as well. So this is going to be kind of what I have to compare everything against. So let's take a quick look at what I have. This Salt New York palette is kind of a conglomeration of things that I use every day. This is my Kevyn Aucoin contour powder in medium. This is my Kevyn Aucoin highlighter in Candlelight. This is a Lancome blush that was decluttered to me. These are two Cliona shadows. Both of them are from their Pastel Multichrome collection. And this, I believe, is a Morphe shadow. I don't know where it came from, what palette. I just know that I own it and I like it and I use it, and so it's in here. And so this is one of my everyday palettes that I keep in my everyday makeup drawer. And this palette is also filled with everyday shadows. I have 4 ZC eyeshadows in here, a couple of Kevyn Aucoin eyeshadows, a couple of Too Faced eyeshadows that I've depotted from one of my favorite palettes. So basically, this is just kind of, I mean, look at it. It's beige, dirt, sand colored. This is me in a palette. And it's no wonder that this also is in my everyday makeup drawer. But that also means if I see any of these shades in any of my other palettes, I don't necessarily need them. And maybe I need to do some direct swatching to make sure that I have the best of the best. But basically, I have all of my neutral needs met. Especially because I also have this palette from Lethal Cosmetics. These are just a bunch of kind of neutral-ish lethal shadows that I've collected over the years. And when I'm building palettes, I often go in here to choose some of the neutral shadows. So I'm pretty set in the neutral shadow department, I think. But I also have colorful shadows from Lethal Cosmetics. And this collection of singles here keeps me from purchasing some of the more colorful palettes out there. And I think alone for that purpose, it's useful. But also if I'm trying to add a pop of color to a palette that I'm building myself, this is what I reach for. And the last palette that I know I'm not going to try to declutter today is filled with Viseart shadows. This is just a whole bunch of neutral mattes and shimmers, and this is my first go-to when I am putting together a travel palette for the stage, because once I have my stage outfits picked out, then I can create a custom palette based on the colors I'll be wearing on stage. These shadows, the quality never lets me down. They're very boring because they're just matte or they're very satin shimmers. There's no interesting textures in here, but this is my stage workhorse travel kind of reservoir. And so I want to keep these just as they are for now, because I just know this is where I can go if I need that kind of thing. So I will keep these in mind as I look through the rest of my single shadows and try to remember that I don't need shades like these because I have them already. So let's move these out and this in. This is a whole bunch of shadows from God knows where. Some of them I know where they're from. I know that these are from Dose of Colors. I know that this is from a Pat McGrath palette that I depotted. Basically, the packaging broke the second I got it. It was, I think, the third time I used it, and one of her motherships, the hinge just broke off. I didn't do anything to provoke it, it just did that. So I depotted the shadows. The baked shadows are in a different palette because I have to store them differently, but these are the normal shadows. Then I think some of these are from Lancome, these are from ColourPop, and the rest, maybe these are from Marc Jacobs, I don't really know. But I think the best way to look at these palettes now that I've seen what I already have and won't be decluttering because I know I like it and use it all the time, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through here and I'm going to try to put all of the shadows that I know I reach for a lot in here on one side and all the other shadows on the other, just so I kind of have a clear overview of what's going on. Okay, I've put a towel over this shiny part so you don't have to look at my chin the whole time. These are shadows that I do use, but if we look, a lot of them are colors that I already have in my neutrals, and I find that these formulas, especially the shimmers, are heavier weight. The reason I like the Viseart shadows so much is because they're very lightweight, they're very natural looking, and these are very pretty colors and they have a very pretty shine, but they're a little bit too heavy for my tastes nowadays. But some of them are beautiful colors. Like this one is just an absolutely gorgeous color. I have no idea where it's from. I just really like it. But I just don't know if that's worth keeping. Although that one isn't heavy. You see how this pan is smaller? I think that's different. Like this formula is much heavier. It feels like much more silicone-y, whereas this formula is much lighter. Oh no. Why did I start swatching them? This is a disaster. Okay, this one's gonna go in here for now. I don't have to keep it. I'm just looking right now. Right now we're just thinking. There's no decisions being made right now. Okay, but when I look at these two shades, they're very pretty. Let's see if I can move this over a little bit more. These two shades are gorgeous and I really like them, but I have the Natasha Denona Lila palette, and so most of the time when I go for a purple, that's what I'll go for. And especially this brighter purple, there's one in there, there's one in there. I'll swatch these so that we can see what they look like. But I mean, these are gorgeous shadows. I just feel like I like my Natasha Denona bluish purples better. And those, even though they're in an actual palette, they're removable. So I use them as single shadows. And I feel like I use my Natasha Denona more than I reach for these. So these can go, and that's a pretty easy decision. Is there anything else? This one here I think is actually pretty nice. Yeah, this is, well, it's not special enough. It's not special enough. I'm just going to leave it. I'm just going to leave it. These two shades from Dose of Colors, this black is actually kind of worth considering keeping, because what I like about this black is that it has a kind of natural sheen to it. It's almost like a satin matte once it kind of mixes with the oils on my eyelids. So maybe I'll consider keeping that. I'll look at my other blacks and see if it's worth keeping. This one though, I don't think it is worth keeping because this is just a color I don't tend to reach for a whole lot. So I'm actually satisfied with this, getting rid of all of these. But let's look at what I decided to potentially keep, and we'll see if any of it's worth keeping. Okay, the Dose of Colors matte formula is really nice, so I'm going to consider keeping that. I'm going to try to keep the palettes together-ish. I should have just done that right from the start. You can see how good I am at planning things. These ColourPop shadows are also something I often reach for, just because these colors, the kind of off-white beiges and sand colors and kind of, I don't know, sea green, not sea green, but seagrass green, kind of seaweed green colors like these that are just a little bit murky, I just really like. So I'm going to at least consider keeping these. And then there's this one. I think this is Marc Jacobs. I think this is also Marc Jacobs. I don't know where this is from, but this is one of those kind of iridescent shadows, and it looks white here, but once you kind of sheer it out, it kind of gets like a pinkish kind of duochrome thing to it. And so I think that one's worth keeping just because I don't have much of that. Let me see if I can get a better swatch for you. Let's see if we can make it turn pink. I'm not sure. The lighting here is direct sunlight, and so it's kind of hard to show duochromes, but this one is definitely worth considering. This one from Pat McGrath is kind of similar, but it's like a pinkier version. Let's see if I can swatch that here. And that like flashes really pink. If you look at it in the pan, it looks almost peach, but then it flashes that kind of like cool toned pink. And I'm not actually crazy about the cool toned pink, but sometimes that flash is exactly what I need. So I'd like to at least consider keeping it. I think this is also maybe Marc Jacobs. Put the Pat McGrath shadows. Okay, this one is beautiful. This one I think is my favorite color from the Divine Rose 2 palette. It's just a gorgeous lavender. I used to love wearing this over. I would wear my Laura Mercier shadow stick in the shade Amethyst, and then I would put this shade over it. Do I have a finger that hasn't swatched yet? Yeah. This is just a gorgeous color, and I love the shine of it. That's like one of my favorite single shadows, so that's definitely not going. Okay, these shadows here, I think these might be from Lancome. I think they were decluttered to me. Let's see, what do we have here? This one's from KVD apparently. Let's swatch this one. They're all kind of similar. They're all kind of like shades of silver. So let me see. This is more of like a pewter, but I really like the darker base with that silvery shine. That's a really pretty shade that I like to reach for. Then we have like a true silver here. This one I think is from Lancome. Did I label this one? I did. It's Lancome. It's called Style Section. It's one of their metallic shades. So the darker shade is from KVD and the lighter shade is Lancome. And what's this one? This one doesn't have a label, but I think this one is also Lancome. This is like a silvery blue. Ooh, look how pretty that is. Oh my gosh, they're all so pretty. And I love silver. It's, oh man. See, swatching them is hard. Okay, we're putting all of these in here for now. Although, if I look at this, if I can only keep one, no, but they're all, see, I could use them all for different things. And I don't know if you can see in this light, but there's kind of like little sparklies in there in the Lancome, like this blue one. It's just like very subtle, but just very nice. Smooth, yet has something special. But you know what? I think this is gonna go in the chopping block. Okay, this one I think is definitely gonna stay, this KVD shadow, because this one is really pretty. This one is also really pretty. But these two, the Lancome and the KVD, I think they're kind of similar. I realize this one is more blue and this one is more, oh gosh, I don't know. Okay, we're keeping it for now. For now. Let's see. Then we have this shade. I think this shade also from the Pat McGrath Divine Rose palette. I think this one also maybe needs to go on the chopping block just because it's so bright. Every once in a while, I do reach for it because I'm looking for exactly that brightness. In fact, I did just the other day, I'm still taking that Makeup Academy course. I'm going very slowly just because I don't have a lot of time to do it. But I needed a shade like this and I chose this. when I was doing one of my practice looks. So it's one of those things where I don't use it often, but it's not like I have a whole lot of these colors, and so maybe it's worth keeping. I think this is from MAC. Yes, this is called MAC Humid. It's one of their old shadows, and I like their old formula, so maybe this is worth keeping. It is a pretty green. I just don't tend to wear a lot of this color of green. I think what's making it hard for me to declutter is because I know that they don't make this formula anymore. Like, they've totally changed everything. So I don't know. It's going to be on the chopping block for now because it's a pretty color. Do we have a name on this one? No, we don't know what this one is. But this is that kind of bronzy color that just, it's like so smooth. It's like butter. And it's got that like soft shine. I think we'll put it in here for now. And maybe what we'll do is take a look. We'll do some swatch comparisons with my other palettes that I know I'm not decluttering. And then we'll see if maybe this is better than one of those shadows or if I don't need it because I already have it. This black is going to go on the chopping block for now because I might have other blacks that do the same or better. This Pat McGrath shadow is lovely, but it has like magenta glitter in it. It's one of those sequin-like shades where it's a satin formula within, when you kind of like blend it out on the eye, it kind of like gets these magenta glitters. Let's see if I can do a better swatch somewhere. Let me clean up. Okay, now we'll swatch this one again. Okay, this is from the Pat McGrath Divine Rose palette, and it's got a satin base with kind of like magenta glitter particles in it. And on the one hand, it's a really pretty color, but on the other hand, I don't like sequin shades. And this one doesn't have the fallout that I often associate with sequin shades, but I think this is at least worth putting on the chopping block. I don't think it's worth an automatic in just because it's Pat McGrath. But this color, let's swatch this one. This, I really do like her mattes. I know a lot of people couldn't care less about Pat McGrath's mattes, but I actually like them. This is a bad swatch, but I like this color. I feel like kind of wine colored tones bring out the green in my eyes, and so I actually like that one. I think we'll keep that in here for now. So we've got these on the chopping block. We've got these that are preliminary keepers, and then we've got these which are going to go to new homes. Okay, now that we've got some decluttered already, I think what I'm going to do is let this palette simmer. I guess we'll pretend we're cooking a multi-course meal. We'll let this simmer and we'll work on the next palette just to kind of see where we're at. This here was always my most aesthetically pleasing palette. The other palettes I always kind of arranged in groups of shadows that I tended to use together. But with this palette, I wanted to have colors that were related close to each other so that I could more easily pick out colors for palettes and I could see the nuances next to each other in direct comparison. And so this has always been like a little work of art for me. I've always liked just opening it up to look at it. I love having swatch parties with this, but I think it's time to maybe consider letting some of these go. I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the other palette. I'm going to look for shades in here that I think of and use, and then we'll see maybe if some are worth actually keeping or putting on the chopping block. When I look at what's left in this palette, see, I'll try to hold it up so we can see all of it without any glare. This palette, there's a lot of colors in here that I have in my normal palettes and that I also have in my palettes that I know I'm not even sorting through today. And so I feel like I can let these go, even though it's kind of difficult in some cases. So let's just take a look at a couple of them, give them a fond farewell. These colors here are really nice. Like this purple, I like that it's red based and I like that it's sparkly, but it's one of those sequin shades. It kind of does that thing where the glitter particles are suspended in the powder, and I just don't like that in reality. I only like it in theory. And it's the same with this. This is kind of like one of those blue-brown pigments that's really pretty, but once again, it has glitter particles suspended in the formula, and I'm just not a fan of that. And so as pretty as the color is, it's just not a texture that I like to use, so I can part with that. This one, on the other hand, is kind of hard to part with because it's got that blue-based or blue-brown pigment, but it's really pretty. But I have a couple of Cliona shadows that are kind of like this, and I think I can let that one go. This one, though, I kind of like this. This is like a sea green, but it's a mucky sea green. Maybe I'd like to keep that because I don't tend to keep a lot of colors like that. So maybe we'll give this one a chance. Everything else in here is pretty neutral. This is a beautiful color, but once again, it also has the sparkles just like these. This is a beautiful color, but it's just a little bit dark for what I like to use it for. Yeah, I think I'm okay with saying goodbye to these, although that one is really not. No, Stephanie, you need to get rid of things. Ugh, this is so hard. Why is it so hard? It's just dirt. But oh my gosh, it's such pretty dirt. And these colors, once again, I feel like I can find these, like some of these shades were shades that I kept from the other palette that we just looked at. But this one I like. I think I want to keep that one too. Yeah, I want to keep that one. Okay, for now anyway. We'll take a closer look at it. Oh, and this one is really nice too. Oh yeah, we'll keep that one. Okay, I need to stop because this is what's going to happen. I'm just going to keep going. Ooh, wait, what's this one? Yeah. I think I like that one too. Okay, we need to put this away because otherwise I'm just going to keep doing that. So this one is going to go. And I think what I'm going to do is try to see what fits in the keeper side of that other palette, because I need to find somewhere to put all these. Okay, so these are the keepers for now. Let's look at what I have that's similar, because there were a whole bunch of things that I just took out of that square palette that would probably dupe what's in here. So let's take a look at that. Okay, first, this is a shade that I have often tried to dupe. I think it's from an Anastasia Beverly Hills palette. I think it's called Orange Soda. This is one that I've tried to dupe in my collection, and I can't really. So I think this one is worth keeping, actually, right off the bat. But I'm looking here, and look at how similar these two are. We have Anastasia Beverly Hills something fresco, the writing's worn off, and then here we have Dose of Colors Wishy Washy. So let's swatch these two and see how they compare. The Dose of Colors feels really smooth, looks really dusty when you swatch it, but they go so nicely on the eyes. And see how different they are? Like, they look so similar in the pan, but they end up being pretty different. The Anastasia shadow ends up looking more like an actual shadow, almost like a purplish contour, whereas this one's much warmer. And that's always why I liked these, because they're pretty warm. Let's see what this one looks like, the one next to it, also from Dose of Colors. Yeah, see, that's more lavendery. They're different. Do you see what I mean? This is why it's hard. And I realized, like, I could mix colors. Like, I am taking that makeup artistry course, so I am getting used to mixing colors. But sometimes it's nice to just have something you can just reach for without having to mix it. And since I have it all here, I like to use it. Then we have this color. This is also from ABH. This is Dusty Rose. Wait, let's see. Dusty Rose. And see how this one's, like, more rosewood? Oh, man. See, they look the same, and they're just not. But see, I want to keep those. They're nice. And then, oh gosh, there's so many pretty shadows here. Which ones am I gonna... Oh. We have this shadow, which I believe is from Marc Jacobs. Let me make some room for some swatches. Okay, so we have this shade from Marc Jacobs, and then we have this pink shade from Anastasia, I believe. Let's see, yes. That's from Norvina, it looks like. Love. Okay. So let's try this one. I'm going to swatch this one here for now because the back of my hand's still wet. Okay, so this is the Anastasia shadow, and this is the Marc Jacobs shadow. And the Marc Jacobs shadow is kind of like a peachier, brownier version of that. Ugh! And I like both of them for different things. I realize they're very similar, but I'm cutting myself a break here because I'm assuming that I'm going to have to go through this declutter in stages. This is stage 1. And I think I'm doing pretty well because I got rid of over half of the round shadows. And I got rid of over half of the square shadows. So I'm making progress, and it's slow but steady. And, you know, they say that wins the race. So we'll just keep going. As you can tell, I'm running out of room here. What I want to do is put my more colorful shadows in here. I got an empty palette. And these are shades that they're brighter than what I typically have. And I do at some point need to compare them to my Lethal Cosmetics palette, but I don't even know what shadows these are, where they came from, but the quality of these is really amazing. And so I don't want to just let these go without more thought. So I'm going to put these in here for now, just because they work so well and they're useful in individual palettes. And then maybe we can take a closer look at some of the other palettes once we have a little bit more room to think. Okay, so we've got those. Now the question is, what do I want to do with this? Let me swatch this. Once again, I have no idea where it's from. But we'll just do a little swatch here and we'll see how that works. That is so smooth and beautiful. And what I like about the tone of this is that it's that kind of color that brings out the green in my eyes. I feel like my eyes sometimes look green and they sometimes look blue. And this can make them look really green. And so I kind of like that, but it's similar, I mean, in feel to this. I realize that this is more just a typical bronzy brown, but oh my gosh, the formula of this one is just so smooth. Ah, okay, they're very different. They're very different. Okay, but between these two, let's take a look. This is the Pat McGrath shade again with the little magenta sparklies in it. And I feel like this one is actually closer to whatever this one is. And that's, I don't know, it's kind of in between the two actually, huh? But you know what? I don't like the little glitteries. So we're going to give this one away. So let me put this over on the giveaway side. And I think I can part with this one as well. But do I want, you know what, we'll put this one with the more colorful ones because I do like that. And we'll put this with the more colorful ones as well. And this with the more colorful ones. And this with the more colorful ones. Okay. Yeah, I'm doing a great job moving stuff around. I don't know if you can call this decluttering, but you know what? It's a process, right? And you've seen, I've tried to be as systematic as I can be in my other declutters. And so I'm just trying to give myself some leeway here because I think this is going to be the hardest category of all for me. I thought it was going to be eyeshadow palettes, but really, I think it's going to be this because with eyeshadow palettes, you're thinking about whether or not you want to keep a whole collection of shadows. But with these, it's like every single shadow is an individual choice, and it's just kind of a lot. We've got the colorful shadows off to the side. Let's look at the, oh wait, we have some colorful shadows that we can also move over from here, I think. So let's do that. I think because these I consider colorful. I know some people probably wouldn't, but I do. So those are colorful. This one is kind of leaning, yeah, and these are also something special. So we'll put these here. But you know what? This shade, this is so pretty, but is it special? No, it's just pretty. Oh gosh. Okay, chopping block. We'll just put that one on the chopping block. And we'll put this one in with the more colorful options. This one, I'm not sure what to do with. I don't know if I would consider that a colorful or a neutral because it's kind of neutral and it's kind of colorful when you see the shift of the pink in there. Oh, goodness gracious. It's so hard. Okay, here we've got, this is another one of these, wherever these came from. It's a really nice matte shadow. This is just a beautiful silky shadow, and I feel like it kind of goes really well with these. So we'll put this here. This one. Okay. Champagne shades are a dime a dozen, right? So do we really need to keep this, Stephanie? But look, see how soft it is? It's just kind of like that soft sheen. Oh, it's so pretty and so smooth and so subtle. We'll put that there. I know. Oh, goodness. It's a whole lot of dirt, and yet I can't seem to get enough of it. Okay, let's see. Let's put these shades together and just see for a moment. Let's see. Put the mattes together. Yeah, we'll put this one here too. See, that makes like kind of a nice little dusty quad, doesn't it? Yeah, and then we add this to it to give it some kind of rosy shimmer. Oh yeah. Oh, and then we put this here, and look at that. Oh, what a pretty little palette. And already it's gone from the chopping block. Look at me go. Gee whiz. Okay, let's see. I think we're gonna move you over here.
Like so. I'm gonna move you over here. I'm gonna maybe line the neutrals up over here. It kind of goes there.
See, there we go. That kind of makes sense, right? Sort of, in a weird way. Maybe. Okay. Looking at this shade here, it looks really boring and dull, doesn't it? But look at this. Ready? Okay, I'm going to swatch it. And it does this it's like a brown, but it's got kind of like a ruddiness to it. And then this one too. Oh, look at that. See, I feel like both of these have the potential to bring the green out in my eyes. Okay, so those are staying. Okay, now let's take a look at these blacks. Okay, you know what? I lied. First, we're going to put this in here. Oh, I feel so much more relaxed now. And now we can take a look at these blacks. Okay, so here we have the Dose of Colors black. And here we have, I think, yeah, this is an Anastasia black. It's called Noir. How fitting. Okay, so Dose of Colors and Anastasia. So we'll look at it here. And one looks a little bit more blue and one looks a little bit more true black. So let's see. This is the Dose of Colors, right? Yeah. Dose of Colors here and Anastasia here. And see, like black is not black. There are like different versions of it. Just to make sure that I got them right. We'll do Dose of Colors one more time. I really think this was the blackest black, right? Yeah. The Dose of Colors is much more black and the Anastasia is much softer black. When on the eyes, that can actually be a benefit. Oh my goodness. So what do we do? I think for now, what we'll do is we will put this in the colorful palette. And we'll take a look at these and we'll compare them to my Lethal Cosmetics black and we'll look at my Viseart black and we'll compare them and then see which ones are really worth keeping in another video. But for now, these are going to go in there. And this is what I'll keep from 2 whole palettes into 1 whole thing here. I'm okay with that for now. I think this is progress, especially because we have more to do. So we'll put this away for now. And I have a question for you because I know that several of you depot things. And these are the baked shadows from my Pat McGrath palette that broke. And I definitely know that I at least want to keep these two. The jury's still out on whether I would keep these. But the thing is, I have to store this palette horizontally like this. Normally, I like to store my palettes upright like this because they're just easier to get out. I can store them like books and I can just take one out at a time. Is when I store them horizontally like this, it just kind of takes up more space and it's not very efficient. So I like to store them vertically, but I can't with these because the baked shadows are so fragile because I don't have any pans. Do you know if you can repot these or repress these in a way that keeps them still functioning like they should? Because I really want to keep this one and this one for sure, but it's kind of difficult like this. And it's the same thing with these 2 Tom Ford shadows. A friend of mine, her palette broke and she's like, I know you like to repot things. And so she just gave it to me. And these are the two that were salvageable, but they don't stick to anything. Like I tried gluing them to a magnet with some glitter glue. I tried a bunch of different things to try to get them to magnetize into the pan, but they don't. They just kind of fly around in here. So I have to be really gentle with this and just kind of like transport it around like this all the time, which is a little bit annoying. And so what I would like to do is figure out a way to maybe repress these. So can you let me know if there's a possibility of doing that while keeping the quality of the shadow intact? Thank you. Next, we have something really exciting. These are my Cliona shadows, and they live in here. Oh my gosh, these are like the prettiest little jewels. I have to admit, the only time I ever wear these are pretty much during makeup playtime, for the most part. Every once in a while, I'll wear them for something else. I have found that they don't travel well. One of my Cliona shadows shattered when I was on the road, and ever since I've been really scared to take them with me. And so these are just kind of a makeup playtime thing. And I have to say, I really enjoy them. And I have them organized in such a way. These are the ones that have a very sheer base. I think these are the glitter multichromes. These are like the deeper glitter multichromes, and these two are pastel multichromes, and I think these are the hybrid multichromes. And so it kind of goes from sheerest to most color impact with the base. And I like having them organized like that because then I know exactly what I'm getting, because sometimes it's hard to tell in the pan. Now, I actually already went through these, not on camera, to see if there were any that I wanted to give away, and I did find some. And the reason I did that off camera is because you know how it is with multichromes. Like, it's almost impossible to show how they look. Like, I can try showing them with the mirror, that like some of the colors are different depending on like what angle you look at the color. And so multichromes are really great that way, but when you're trying to declutter multichromes, I feel like you need to look at them in a bunch of different lights. So I was looking at them in sunlight and, under artificial light and fluorescent light, and just trying to figure out which ones I really liked. And these are the ones that ended up staying. But I can show you the ones that I'm giving away because they are in this palette. These shadows here in the corner are all absolutely lovely Cliona shadows that are going to go to a very good home. But what I've noticed is that they're just very intense, more intense than what I typically go for. Because not only is the color intense, but the shine is intense, the glitter is intense, the texture is intense. Everything about these shadows is just very intense. And that's just not where I am right now in my makeup. And so I've decided to give these away here. And I've also gone through my JD Glow shadows, which are all these big round pans here. And I have decided that these are the ones that are also too intense for me, that I don't need, that I won't use. But all of these have something. Like, I realize that this orange and this orange are very intense, but sometimes I do an intense orange look. I only need one though, and this one just happens to suit me better than this one does. So I decided to keep this one. Same with the greens. I adore kind of a chartreusey green, and I was kind of debating between this one and this one here. It was kind of a toss-up because they're both gorgeous. But this one had a little bit more sheen to it, and I just thought it was a little bit more special. So it was hard for me to give away this one, but I figured I probably should. So I will, especially because I feel like these two actually go pretty well together. This is kind of like a deeper version of it. And so maybe someone would like to get this in a pair, or like this as a quad, stuff like that. These here are all ColourPop shadows, and I haven't decluttered these yet. So let's go through these. Okay, these two shadows here are from ColourPop palettes that I know of. Let's see, this one is from, I think, The Mandalorian. Both of these I removed from the palette because they're mattes with sparklies in them, and I can't stand that kind of formula. So I took them out. And for example, this one came from the brown one here came from the Mandalorian palette. And so basically I just took the shade out and I put a completely matte shade in to make the palette more my jam. So this is my version of the Mandalorian palette without that in it. And then this, it was the same thing from the Child palette. It has that matte with the sparkle formula in it, and I don't like it. So basically, I took out this shade and I put in this one instead. And they're not quite the same, but I feel like it kind of gives me the same vibes. So this is my version of the Child palette. I believe I took out another one too. I think I might have switched out the Force because the Force was more of a glitter and I didn't like it. So it was either this one or this one. One of them I also switched out. I don't remember which one it was. But so this is like my version of the Child palette. Okay, so these two can definitely go. I do not want those, have no interest in them. All of these also don't particularly spark my interest. This one I kept a similar color to check with my lethal shadows, so I don't need this one even though it's lovely. And same here. I feel like I have something similar in my colorful shadows or the things that are on the chopping block already. These three are a little bit different though. They're kind of like the blue-brown pigment. I think I'm going to put these over here because I think I want to keep these. Let's do some swatching just to make sure though before I say too much. So this is what these look like. And they are so pretty. So let's do some swatches. So I feel like the shine on these is really nice. Sometimes ColourPop shiny shadows are a little bit too chunky for me, but these have like a certain smoothness to them that I really like. And I like the base, I like the shine. I'm kind of into all of it. And so I think I'd actually like to keep these three shadows, but I actually feel completely comfortable giving the rest of these away. I did briefly consider whether or not I wanted to maybe give away some of the more multi-chrome JD Glow shadows, simply because I do have something similar in my Clionadh shadows, and I do tend to reach for my Clionadh shadows more in cases like that. But these are not travel friendly. And so because these little treasures and jewels have to stay at home all the time, I think it is good for me to have a version that is travel friendly. And these are also a little bit smoother. They have a little bit less glitter fallout, which is easier to work with when I'm traveling too. So I think it is good to have those options there. And I think I'm pretty happy with this. So this is what I'm keeping and this is what I'm giving away. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I swatched all the Clionadh shadows in the corner, and in this light, which is different than the light I swatched them in for the past 2 days, I really liked them. So this one now moved over here and the rest of them moved back in with their family. But you know what? These are just my fun play with shadows anyway. And so I'm just gonna enjoy them. Maybe I can use them in my makeup course and have fun. But yeah, I'm keeping my Clionadh shadows. Goodness gracious. But I am getting rid of these. What I'd like to do now is maybe rearrange so that I can give like a whole palette away. Maybe get a clearer view of what I'm giving away and keeping. So right now, out of this palette, this is what I'm keeping. This is what I'm giving away. This is the state we're currently in. These are all of the things that I have decided to keep for now. And at some point, I'm going to have to go through and swatch these against the other palettes that I always use day to day and see what can really hold up against that. I just don't have the mental capacity to do that today. And I think it's okay. I think we need to normalize declutters that take more than just one session. So this is what I've currently decided to keep along with my Clionadh shadows. So these are the decisions that I've already made, at least until I can swatch them against my everyday workhorse palettes. But let's take a look at what I am giving away. So all of these will be given away. And all of these will be given away. I feel like that's a pretty good start today. Maybe we'll count them and get back to you. So I've done the final tally listed over here, and out of all of the shadows that I sorted through today, I kept 86 and I decluttered, drumroll please, 146. It's not the number I was hoping for, but it's progress and it's nothing to sneeze at. I just hope that editing Stephanie is able to make some sense out of the chaos that the Swatch Goblin caused. Part of me is really thrilled with the results, but I think part of me is also a little bit disappointed. I think I was hoping that my decluttering muscles would have been stronger and would have been able to whittle down my collection a little bit more. But I think my expectations were set a little bit too high when I look at the context I was doing it in, because the past 2 years I have spent really focusing on using and enjoying my collection, on using things up and decluttering anything that wasn't the best of the best for me. And I was really thinking analytically about all of my makeup except for my single eyeshadow collection. For some reason, I wasn't willing to think that way about this part of my collection. I just wanted to play with it. When I posted in my Instagram stories that I was going to be doing this declutter, one of my subscribers, Mary, and I were talking back and forth about how this was going to be a really tough one for me. And she made a really good point. She said, well, it's probably going to be hard because you just want to keep all of them because they're like art supplies. And I was like, you are so right. I am like a kid with finger paints. I just want to get my hands in there and mess them up. Like, I don't know what it is. I couldn't bring myself to think critically about that part of my collection, and I think that's okay. I think it's a good thing that I was enjoying them this whole time. But that also just means that because I wasn't thinking critically about them, this declutter was going to be harder from the get-go. So I am definitely going to have to go for another round of decluttering this category so that I can take all of the shadows I decided to keep today and compare them to my favorites so that I only keep the best of the best. Because that's the only way I'm going to be able to meet my goal of really creating time and space for me to thoroughly enjoy everything I have. So if you want to see round 2, make sure you're subscribed. And I will do my best to make it at least a little less chaotic than this one was. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. But even if you don't, I hope you have a great week. And we can all remember that even stumbling can be a form of moving forward. So let's stumble in style.